guys, welcome back to another video. As you can see, I am at my layover and I decided to record this video and just share my experience with you all. But before I continue, if you're new to the channel, my name is Priscilla. I am a New York based flight attendant currently working with a major US airline company. I am a commuter. I am an international commuter. I live in Accra, Ghana, and I work out of New York. And in today's video, I will be talking about my commuter life, okay? We're gonna be talking about life as a flight attendant who commutes. And not only commutes, but I commute internationally. So that's like double trouble right there. But before I actually jump into my experience so far, I did first want to talk about why I chose to commute internationally compared to commuting domestically. Basically, fewer people commute internationally, right? Unless you happen to be in a place like Japan or something where you might have a lot more people commuting. But people ultimately, compared to the number of people that commute domestically in the United States of America, people commuting internationally are few. So essentially, trying to get a jump seat or trying to non-rev to get to work or commute to work, it's not necessarily like Hunger Games at this point. It's easier. I wouldn't say it's easy. It will be much more, comparing both, the chances of you being able to book a seat, a jump seat to work will potentially be higher for somebody who commutes internationally compared to somebody who commutes domestically, because there's so many of you, right? And because people live in the US and work with this airline, a lot more commuters are within the United States compared to living internationally and commuting into the United States to work. So the odds are in your favor for the most part if you commute internationally. But personally for me, if I lived in the US, I would not commute because I've seen how flight attendants struggle to get to work, especially when there's bad weather, when there are issues and stuff like that. I've always been against commuting. But at this point, like I said, I wouldn't commute if I lived in the US. But living in Accra, one, the cost of living is not as intense and crazy or high as it is in the US. It is high, but compared to the US, my money still would go a longer way compared to me being here. And if I lived here, I would have to work more. But living there, I don't have to work more. Plus, I don't have to pay rent when I'm living there. And when I was in the US, rent was the highest bill that I had. Rent took about 40% of my income, 30 to 40% of my income, right? So that was my biggest issue. But beyond that, I feel like, sorry guys, the odds are in your favor if you commute internationally because you're not competing with a lot of other flight attendants. In my case, people like to go to Ghana in December, like December, between November, December, January, around that period. So that is a period where I might have some difficulties, but aside from that, I'll probably just limit the number of times I go and come. If I'm doing it 2 or 3 times now, I'll probably just do it once or twice, right? And then worst case scenario, depending on how bad things are, I'll just purchase a ticket. Then when I come to work, I'll probably work more hours just to get that money back, plus what I would normally work. You see, so I have like a game plan as to what I would do. Because if a ticket is like, let's say $1,500, right, round trip, I know that if I work a good 3-day trip, or if I work 2 3-day trips, I can pay for that ticket. So essentially I might work 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, right? So then the 3rd week pays for the expense I needed to have to come to work. But that wouldn't be the norm. It would just be one of those random moments, right? And for me, I always have backup money, so I'm not really worried about those things either. But jumping into it, since I am a commuter now I live in a Crashpad, guys. I am living the Crashpad life. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I don't pay attention, or not I don't pay attention, let me put it this way. I feel like sometimes I have to pause, look at the opportunities that I have or the access that I've gotten, and show more appreciation for the things that I have, or are experiencing, because a lot of people go through this Crashpad process, right? A lot of people get hired, they have to commute. So right out of training, they have to commute. I didn't have to do that. I lived at base for like almost 2 years. And then now that I decided to commute, I did transfer of bases. I got it right away because I got my base transferred, my first choice, just as I got my first choice when I was coming out of training. Then I decided to commute. The first crash, like I was passively looking for crash pads because I knew I needed to get one. However, I was just on Facebook and I saw a crash pad listing and I was like, no, I like this place. I was just drawn to the post. Like I had seen multiple posts, but this particular one, I think it was because it looked more authentic, right? Because the video showed a place that looked like an average apartment place, but it was well kept, well organized. But I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the universe directing me, but there was nothing catchy about the place. There was nothing flashy about the place, but I was just drawn to the post. I sent the person a message and I actually liked her energy. Somebody talking to this person might think that she's too direct, she's too mean, she's rude, but I love the fact that she was direct and she was straight to the point, right? And she was abrasive, because I feel like somebody like that will run a tight ship. Like nothing will fall out of place. And because the Crashpad is a community place and it's a shared environment, you need somebody who's extremely strict to make sure that nobody does whatever it is that they want to do, right? And there were a few things that this person actually told me. She didn't want people living there. So if you use her Crashpad, you have to be working. So you're not going to be lounging about. Every time somebody comes home, you're already there, sleeping, not going to work. And I like that because it means the place would always, almost every time, be empty, right? So, and then also she was like the cleanliness of the place. I love the vibe on that. And I like the fact that she went the extra mile to give us items or resources that we could use to make our stay more comfortable. And she was super cute. I mean, she was pleasant. And I just like the fact that she was very strict, because I didn't want bugs, cockroaches, people eating and leaving dishes everywhere. I don't want to deal with that, right? So I say all that to say that even getting a Crashpad, the process for me to get the Crashpad was pretty easy. So I spoke to her on the phone. We had the interview. She interviews people too, so she just doesn't put anybody there. So that was another green flag for me. So she interviewed me, and then I also asked her a couple of questions. We connected. It was great. So then I traveled towards the end of April, went to see the place. I loved it. It was okay. I paid my money. I have a Crashpad. Like, it wasn't stressful. I didn't get any horror stories. Like, I feel like before going through the process, I was ready to share a horror story, but I don't have a horror story to share. I am here to report to you today that my Crashpad experience was great. Me finding a Crashpad was easy, and it was just one attempt. I saw one post, I liked it, I reached out, and here we are. And I've lived there for at least 2 days now. And it was cool. I actually liked it there. It was pretty good. I've been there where there've been other people in my room and we slept normal. It was pretty chill. So that experience has been good. But overall, I like the fact that my first impressions were for the Crashpad was that what I saw was what I saw. What I saw online was what I saw in person. So it wasn't given aesthetics and making things flashy online and then you go there and it's not what it seems. Exactly what was in the video was what I saw. So that for me was genuine, because she wasn't trying to upsell or trick anyone into coming to her place. So then when people come, they're more likely to stay longer too. Honestly, I'm hoping that she continues the business for a long time, because I want to be able to stay there for at least 5 years, or as long as my seniority gets to the point where I don't have to fly a lot at all, and I would barely fly, such that I can actually do hotels and not necessarily do Crashpads, or I might do Crashpads, but I wouldn't need it as much. But that's what I'm hoping for, because I feel like this is a safe haven for me at this point. So everything I saw was what it was. Whatever she told me was what it was. So for me, she was very honest. And I think it's also because she's also a cabin crew member. She's also a flight attendant. So she understands the job, she understands the life. And because she knows how things go, the way she manages the place is quite different compared to like a private individual who's just doing this for business, right? So I really love that. The other thing also with my experience with the Crashpad life right now is the location of the Crashpad. It is in Kew Gardens, and Kew Gardens is known to have or to house crash pads for cabin crew members and pilots. So it's a popular place. Like every time I'm going in and out of the place, I see other flight attendants either going to work or coming back from work. So that's nice. So it means that worst case scenario, I'm still within a community of flight crew members that I can always, you know, connect with and stuff like that, or share transportation and all that good stuff. But the whole point of the location of the Crashpad is that because Kew Gardens is like in the middle of LaGuardia and JFK, I will say though, the drive from the place to JFK compared to LaGuardia, I prefer LaGuardia. And honestly, I didn't want to work out of LaGuardia, but I worked there during my last rotation. I kind of enjoyed that calmness that LaGuardia offers compared to JFK. But I'll probably do like a separate video talking about my airport experiences and being a flight attendant working out of 2 airports. But yeah, I like the location of the Crashpad too. It's in a really good spot. So I've done both. My first 3-day trip was out of LaGuardia. So I caught a cab to LaGuardia and I worked and I came back. It was normal, pretty cool, standard. And then initially when I commuted from Accra to JFK, I got the same cab to the Crashpad, and that was smooth. And then coming to work this rotation, I did the same thing to the airport. So it's in a really good spot, and the cab fare is pretty cheap. I use Voyager, and they have like pretty good prices for flight crew members because they provide the service to us. They're like our own personal taxi system. I don't know if they service people outside of the flight crew family, but what I know is that their prices are much cheaper than Lyft, and extremely cheaper than Uber. But Lyft is relatively cheaper than Uber. So Uber might be taking $70, Lyft might be taking $30 or $40. So I personally always use Lyft because I feel like it's relatively cheaper compared to Uber. Uber always has a very extremely high price. I think at this point we're paying for the brand and not necessarily the service. So yes. But the location is great. The other thing that I do want to talk about is, so the proximity to the airports are great. Then the next thing was honestly obviously the transportation to and from. The Voyager, and I know there's Q Cab as well. I haven't used Q Cab yet, but so far I've been using Voyager and they've been great. So this lady also who owns a Crashpad actually shared with me means of transportation, how to get to the Crashpad and stuff like that. And so far it's been great. I haven't had I think returning from my last rotation, we picked Lyft because the lady that the person that I worked with, she lived close to my Crashpad. So we just decided to grab a Lyft, and then we just went together. And then I walked from the junction to my Crashpad, which it was late at night. I think it was like almost 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. or whatever, but I felt safe, right? The environment felt safe. It didn't feel scary or suspicious, or there weren't like suspicious people walking about. Like it felt really cool. So I like the proximity to the airports, and the transportation to and from the place is not bad as well. When it comes to transportation, I don't plan on doing subways and trains. I'm just not a subway or train person. Even when I lived in Washington State, I never sat on the train. I never sat on a subway. I'm not a subway, a bus, right? Not that I can't do it. I'm at a point where I want a stress-free life. And the fact that I have to carry my bag onto a train, it's just walk to the stop, it's just too much involved. I'd rather pay for a direct pickup, come to my doorstep and pick me up. That's just me. I'm not against it, but if I'm gonna penny pinch, it's not going to be at the expense of my peace of mind and my stress-free or my soft life era. It's not. I'm just not gonna do it anymore. No. I hustled in my 20s. I'm in my 30s now. I need to be comfortable. I'm not asking for much, okay? It's not like I'm out here asking for the world, right? So, but yes, I don't intend to, if I'm gonna do subways, it'll probably be leisure or me hanging out with people and stuff like that. But to work, unless it's an emergency and I have to do it, I don't plan on doing it right now. The next thing is the shared space. So that's one thing that's kind of awkward, or might be awkward for somebody who's never shared space with other people. But personally, I went to boarding school when I was in Ghana. Junior high, I was in boarding school, and there were like 16 people in one room. With this one, I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 8 people in my room, but not all the time. In boarding school, we're all the time in the room, right? So it's either we're all at school or we're all back. So I've done boarding school before, so sharing my personal space with people is not really an issue for me because I shared space with people. So that's just normal. It just feels like I'm back in boarding school again. I mean, the difference is that they're now adults, right? But it felt normal. The other day in my room, there were 3 other people there, and it was just normal. It felt normal. Like, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I felt normal. So, and plus this job, when I was going through training, my roommate was a stranger. I had never met her before. They just paired us up with strangers, and we're all in the hotel room together for 6-7 weeks. Oh, 6-7 weeks. So I think because of the conditions I've been exposed to, it's really not a big deal. So the shared space is not a big deal, especially when people clean up after themselves, they pick up after themselves. You don't go to the bathroom and find underwear hanging everywhere. You don't find hair in the sink and hair everywhere. Like, I don't shed hair that much, but there are people that do. So I don't want to open the curtain, the shower curtain, and see strands of hair on the wall, in the sink. It's just, yeah, no, I don't see those things. So I'm happy that even though it's a shared space, it's still pretty, it feels homely in a way, yeah. The other thing is the place is very clean and organized. It is so clean and organized that it just blows my mind, you know? But I appreciate it, and I'm hoping that it stays that way at least for a year or 2, as long as I'm there, because by my 4th year, I should be senior enough not to be on reserve. So then I'll have more power in terms of the kind of trips that I can pick, and potentially being able to drop my calendar so that I don't have to work a lot, or I pick up whenever I'm already there. So once I arrive at the airport, I just pick up a trip or something, right? So that's what I'm hoping that I can do. But yeah, the place is very clean and very organized. And like I said earlier, I only made 1 attempt and I got a good crash pad. So your girl is lucky. So the cost of this crash pad, by the way, it's in Kew Gardens in New York, and it cost me $375 a month to rent a bed there. And my bed is not a hot bed. Hot bed means that other people can rent it, so you only rent it as and when you need it. So let's say if I'm coming in today, I'm gonna call her and say, hey, I need a bed for tonight, or I need a bed for 2 days or 3 days, and then once I'm done, somebody else can rent it, right? But I have a cold bed, so it's mine until I say I'm leaving the crash pad, which I appreciate, because I know it is a bed that somebody has used before, but I don't want to always have to fold my sheets and come along with sheets, and I don't want to do. I want something that is already set to go. I show up, I use it, I lay it when I'm gone. That's it. So it is a what do you call it? A cold bed. So that part I appreciate. So far I don't have any issues. My only issues with New York is the fact that swapping trips is so hard, and it's just, that's what stresses me out right now. But with regards to my crash pad life, everything is normal. Honestly, it's pretty normal. When I'm there and I feel like I want to work now than later, I just try and swap, or I go to the airport and see if I can pick something up. And the ride to the airport is like in and out, it's about $30. So it's not a huge amount of money where I have to be concerned. Plus our airline reimburses us for transportation if you're New York based too. So that kind of helps with my expense. So right now my main expense is the $375 for my crash pad, and then if I buy dinner, right, and if I eat. So let's say, and I do bring food from Ghana too, so I'm not always buying out. Like, this is the rotation where I bought food out. The first 3 days I didn't buy anything. I ate my own food. So yeah, that's it guys. Crash pad life is, thank you all for watching today's video. Crash pad life is what it is. Commuting is a lot, but I think the more I do it, the more I get used to it, and the less I work, the less I have to commute. So see you all in the next one. Bye bye.